last words?
That's a movie I haven't seen in a while. This is Halloween.
Do you think you're going to catch it before October's over?
Probably not. With the way my schedule goes, probably not.
You don't pop on the AMC Fear Fest at all?
No, because AMC has commercials and they cut the shit out of the movies.
That's very true.
Yeah. They always edit everything.
I'm big into, if I want to watch a movie, I want to see it unedited.
Okay.
You know? And IFC will have commercials, but they're unedited at least on IFC.
That's like the only thing I pay cable for IFC pretty much. That's the only station I really watch, besides maybe FX or something.
Yeah. But no, I probably won't get a chance to catch it. But it's been a while since I've seen it, but I like it a lot too. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna watch it on Halloween. So I think
I'm sure
it's a good day. Yeah.
So this is one that we already covered, but it's The Shining. So I don't think I need to give you guys the synopsis. But have you guys seen Room 237?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The documentary.
Oh my god, people are fucking crazy. Some of those are like, it's interesting, but some of it's like, wow, like you have way too much time on your hands and you were paying like way too much attention to the movie than Kubrick ever intended you to pay attention to. But it's for those of you that don't know, it's a documentary that's based on all these conspiracy theories surrounding the Shining, like what its actual meaning is, or what was Stanley Kubrick's intentions while making it. And I mean, some of them are like, it's about the genocide of Native Americans. It was like how Kubrick was dealing with the Holocaust. One was it was about how they faked the moon landing, which is an interesting one, and that's kind of an urban legend that they faked the moon landing, and Stanley Kubrick was the one to shoot the moon footage.
Well, because of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it was like 2001: Space Odyssey like showed that they could do it.
And in particular, it's when the kid Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's in the hallway, and he has this kind of Christmas sweater.
Yeah, it's like a knit
sweater, yeah. And it's like a NASA sweater.
Oh yeah,
it's an Apollo 11. That's the rocket. It says Apollo 11 on it.
So people think that was put in there to be like,
I
really did fucking do it. Or whatever.
Like in the movie, Room 237 is the room that Jack Nicholson goes into and sees like the woman in the bathtub. Everything. It's the room that Dick Halloran tells Danny to stay out of. And it's whatever happens in the room, it kind of seems like everything stems back to that one single room. But I think the room in the book was 217, and they changed it for the movie because I think where they shot there was no 217, or they didn't want people to associate 217 with the movie and like request to stay there all the time, so they changed it to 237, which I don't think the hotel had, was 237. But supposedly the conspiracy theory behind the 237 number is that the distance from the Earth to the Moon is about 237,000 miles. And they were saying, oh, this has something to do with it too and everything. By far, that was like the most interesting conspiracy theory. It wasn't the most batshit one. But some of those were like, no, there was some lady that was obsessed with like the Minotaur. And she was saying, oh, the poster on the wall is a Minotaur. And she like went down the rabbit hole talking about that. And I'm pretty sure, like, one, maybe more of those people have, like, serious, like, mental problems. just like watching the documentary. But I wanted to ask you guys if you had seen that, because I remember seeing that, because I'm a big Shining fan, so I watched the documentary, and it's like, whoa, wait, people really need help.
The, you mentioned the Holocaust. It was the typewriter.
The typewriter was a German typewriter.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, oh, this has... He was tying the typewriter in with, like, 42. I think, like, the number 42 appears in the movie, like, once or twice. Or, like, if you add 2, 3, and 7, or multiply 2, 3, and 7, you're going to get 42. And he was like, oh, like 42 was like when they put in, like when the Nazis put into effect like the Holocaust protocol. And that was like, oh, why? Because they had a German typewriter like in the movie? It's just a good typewriter.
It's a lot of reaching.
Yeah, there was a lot of reaching in it, and it was like, it was almost like they were analyzing the movie frame by frame, and any little continuity error in the film they were claiming was deliberate because it means this. Like, there's a chair missing, that means this. You know?
Well, to Kubrick's credit, he did spend an awful lot of money to put in these random things that he didn't necessarily need to. So, I mean, you could tie it back into he did have a bunch of subliminal messages.
Subliminal messages, maybe, but like to the effect where...
No, I'm not saying all of this. Of course, all those theories probably aren't true, but it's definitely... There's some depth there where you can play around with different ideas, which is very interesting.
What'd you think about the guy that ran the movie simultaneously, like backwards and forwards, and tried to see how everything overlaid with each other, and said, "Oh, it was deliberate that they did this."
I don't know.
Crazy people.
It's been a while since I watched that documentary. Maybe I'll have to revisit it.
It's pretty crazy. But that was, I think we covered everything I wanted to cover on The Shining, because we mentioned some stuff before when James had brought it up. Also, I just want to throw out that I love the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror spoof.
Oh yeah, that one's so funny.
They always do really well with the Treehouse of Horrors in the early days, at least. And a lot of their spoofs were either really good movies or like Twilight Zone episodes that they would do. And The Shining is one of my favorites, or The Shinning, as it is on The Simpsons. That was one of my favorite ones.
Going back?
Yep,
Your turn.
This is number 2, right?
Number 2.
I guess we're continuing our Shining talk because, yeah, that's my number 2.
Number 2.
Wendy, darling, light of my life. I'm not gonna hurt you. You didn't let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains. I'm gonna bash them right the fuck in.
So it's rated R. It runs 2 hours and 26 minutes, starring Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Danny Lloyd, and Scatman Carruthers. It was released in 1980, directed by Stanley Kubrick, and written by Stephen King. It's psychological horror for sure. It has an 87 on Rotten. And diving into the Swan facts, Shelley says the Here's Johnny scene took 3 days to film with the use of over 60 doors.
Bang.
Do you know why they kept using all the different doors?
Because he was chopping them down?
Jack Nicholson was a volunteer firefighter, so he knew how to chop down a door.
Uh-huh.
So he was like making short work of it, and it was like, no, you want to be a guy who's never done this before. So they kept shooting it over and over to where it looked like he was just some everyday guy trying to swing an axe to
He
chop
was
down
too
the
good
door.
at it.
Yeah, he was too good at it because of the volunteer firefighter.
Interesting. So, yeah, now I get it. So he wanted it to look more real.
Yeah.
Okay. Nicholson was only fed cheese sandwiches for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks straight to get him in the right state of mind for filming. So that's how they got him to be cranky. If you notice, he's very agitated through the entire thing. He's a fucking asshole. The tennis ball throwing by Nicholson through the film was all his idea. Because I guess in the screenplay it just said Jack isn't working or something. It doesn't lay specifics down for what he's doing. Novelist Stephen King is known for his distaste for the film, and although he admits the cinematography is striking, he thinks that the film as a whole, or I guess he compared it to it's like a fancy car without an engine, I guess is what he compared it to. Kubrick screened Eraserhead for a cast and crew during shooting so they could be on a par with the tone that he was going for. I guess Eraserhead was one of his favorite films.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. It was David Lynch.
David Lynch, yeah. It was David Lynch's first movie.
The Snowy Maze was made up of more than 500 tons of salt and crushed styrofoam.
Wow.
And
The maze isn't in the book.
oh, it's not?
Yeah, that's made up for the movie. There's like hedge animals in the book that come to life.
And they
wow.
did that in the. I wanted to talk about that in the miniseries. They do that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do because it follows the
Book more.
More. But yeah, the hedge maze is made up for the film. I think the hedge maze is much better, but that's my personal opinion.
They actually for a specific place in the park, they had the hedge maze bathrooms at the Universal Studios. Or you have to walk through this little maze and then the bathrooms are right there in the center, but I thought that was super cool.
That's pretty cool.
And in the maze, while we're talking about The Shining again, going back to the lady in the bathroom, Jack comes in or sees her like in the shower. They had that was one of the monsters that follows you through the maze, because they have all these doors and windows and stuff that they can go through to scare you or whatever, and that was one of the main, besides Jack, that was one of the main ones that would jump out.
Oh, that's
do
cool.
The jump scares. And I remember that being one of the scenes that really bothered me, so it was cool to see that.
It's pretty cool.
Is that all your facts?
Yep.
So since we're talking about it again, he talks to the guy Grady in the bathroom. You know, the I don't know what you want to call him, like a butler. He's dressed like a butler.
Yeah.
But he spills the drink on Jack, and then they go to the bathroom and he talks to Grady. And Jack says, "I recognize you. Like you killed your wife and kids." He was like the previous caretaker, the guy that like 20 years before or whatever had killed his wife and kids. And then he says, "Oh, like, well, it's always been you. Like, you've always been the caretaker." He tells Jack this, "You've always been the caretaker." And then at the end, you see the picture from like 1921, from like the July 4th ball of Jack Nicholson. And do you think that he just happens to be someone who looks like him, or is that really Jack? Like, did he become one of the ghosts in the hotel now? And like the hotel is kind of incorporating Jack into its history.
Is that a rhetorical question?
No, just like, what do you guys think? Because I know that's one of the big mysteries of the movie was he always there and he just happens to look like this guy? Or like, did he become one of the ghosts and then the hotel kind of assimilates him into its history? And that's how he ends up in the picture.
In my opinion, that's what I thought had happened, is that it's almost like that the property had consumed him, and that's so he had just become a part of it, and then he ends up in the. It was almost like they added him to the film. But now that you say that, it could have been that he just happened to look like.
He just happened to look like him.
What about you, James? I know you said it's been a while since you've seen it.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't remember that part, just because it's been so long. I don't remember a lot of like little pieces like that or big pieces, whatever. But I don't know. It sounds good. What Wes said sounds pretty good. Yeah,
that's a good theory. Because I never really thought about it as much as I did, and then I watched Room 237, and they spend like a lot of time kind of talking about that at various points throughout all that. And it's weird that they incorporate that picture into like a lot of people's conspiracy theories, and a lot of people try to apply like whatever they think that picture is, how it fits into their conspiracy theory. But that was something I never really gave a whole lot of thought about until I watched the documentary. It was kind of like, oh, like, okay. So, like, what did happen? Was he always there? Did he just become a ghost and end up? Because he's on a wall of pictures, you figure someone would have noticed.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy looks like me. But, maybe he became a ghost, and then the hotel, like you said, kind of consumed him, brought him into its history, basically.
Because, I mean, they never show you the photo until his death.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah, you never see it until the very end. But then, thinking back to what Grady tells him in the